let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our friends and family near and far. It's good to have you. Hello from the beautiful Cayman Islands. And yes, what a beautiful day we're having today. I don't know how much of you were out and about, but I must say it was just comfortable. It was really, really nice. The breeze, I don't mind if these breeze could just keep up for a little bit longer, to be honest with you. Don't mind it at all. But I'm hoping that you're having a fabulous Wednesday thus far and you're ready for another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Yes, that's what we're here for, because we are Voices of the Islands, conversations for the world, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration definitely takes center stage. It is good to be back with you on this Wednesday. For another Sabrina Speaks. Yes, where silence is never the way to go through life's changes. Oh, heck no. Because this evening, we're diving into another very informative discussion. We're going to have a conversation that every single one of us is some way connected to, whether or not you realize it. Whether or not you realize it. And, we're not talking about money, power, and small islands alone. It's all in one package. It's going to be all bundled up. And how decisions are made in the big global rooms that ripples and all the way down right here to our shores. And if you didn't understand it before, I'm hoping that this evening, based on what I've uncovered, what I've delved into, and one of my new segments is what really drew me to, or sparked my interest in learning more about today's episode. Now, you've seen the headlines. You've probably heard the acronyms IMF, SIDS, global finance, international agreements. But what does any of all of that really mean for us here in Cayman? For our families, our economies, or even our future? Yes. Well, this evening on this episode of Sabrina Speaks, it is my aim to break it down in plain, simple language for us to understand. Because as we continue to evolve and grow in this space, and you're seeing different headlines, regional leaders are going to places and making agreements and deals, signing MOUs, and you're like, what the heck? They're moving forward. What's wrong with us? Well, you know what? We're going to talk about what the IMF actually is, why small islands like ours are labeled as SIDS, small islands development states. And really, we're going to look also a little bit, because of this time that we have, on how global financial rules affects us even when we don't get a vote around certain tables, and why Cayman sits in a very unique position, not quite like our Caribbean neighbors, but still facing the same vulnerabilities. That's why it really came to the forefront for me and said, you know what? with everything that we did from a medical perspective about premenopause, menopause, andropause, which, by the way, thank you for all the feedback that we're getting that we've covered over the past 2 days. I said, why not? This is not a conversation today for economists only. I'm just going to make that clear. This conversation this evening is for every household, for every young person planning their future, for even every business owner, and yes, every voter. Every resident, every Caymanian who wants to understand the world we're living in. Because from the bottom of my heart, the truth is, small islands like ourselves don't get the luxury of ignoring global decisions. No, we don't. We feel them first, and we feel them in many cases the hardest. So this evening, we're going to make it make sense. And clearly, calmly, and as honest as I can be with you based on what research that I have put into this and just putting this segment together for you. And as always, this is a conversation, not a lecture by any means. So I want to hear from you. You can call in, WhatsApp me as well, 345-936-8255. And we're going to be live until 7 o'clock. And for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, welcome. Happy to have you on board. Thank you, all of those who are new followers, and continue to like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us here on the Sabrina Speaks platform. So we're going to talk about where the Cayman Island sits and what we're facing and how we can navigate global money in this global money world as a small but mighty island. But you know what? After all of that, the content you're about to hear, including any decisions or opinions from myself, guests, and or my participants, is intended solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. So I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for your specific concerns. Bridge Media Limited and all its affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented here this evening. Good evening, all of you. I see you're coming in. Thank you for commenting. Tell me where you're streaming us live from today, and all of my regulars, I'm going to get to you in our roll call section. But you know how we do it here on the Sabrina Speaks platform. We got to know what's going on with the weather. Yeah, we're an island. Why not? Why not? Let's go straight into this evening's weather forecast. Compliments of our friends over at the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. Yes, the synopsis this evening is calling for moderate to fresh northeasterly winds with a slight improvement in seas from tonight as the ridge of high pressure gradually weakens over the Northwest Caribbean. Now, a small craft advisory is expected tonight through tomorrow. Mostly fair conditions are likely to persist as a dry and stable atmosphere dominates. Now, radar imagery shows no showers around the Cayman area. The forecast for tonight calls for mostly clear skies at first with a 20% chance of early morning showers. Temperatures will fall near the mid to upper 70s. Winds will be northeasterly 10 to 15 knots with higher gusts. Seas will be moderate to rough with wave heights of 4 to 6 feet, and a small craft advisory is in effect. Now, the forecast for tomorrow is calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of morning showers. Temperatures will rise near the mid 80s. Winds will be northeasterly 10 to 15 knots with higher gusts. Seas will be moderate to rough with wave heights of 4 to 6 feet, and a small craft advisory is in effect. Now that means small craft alert or an advisory means that small craft should exercise caution over open waters, especially along the north and east coast. And within the reefs and sheltered areas, conditions may be gradually less severe in open waters, but operators should continue to exercise discretion as localized choppy conditions may still develop. Now, tonight, there's going to be a high tide at 8:39. Tomorrow, a low is for 2:42 a.m. and a high tide is at 8:07 in the morning. The sun will set this evening at 6:42 and sun will rise tomorrow morning at 6:08. The outlook is calling for pockets of moisture drifting over the islands, bringing brief early morning showers. Otherwise, fair conditions will persist. Now, the high pressure over the Atlantic continues to weaken. Thus, light winds and seas are expected by the weekend. Thank you, your friends over there at the Cayman Islands National Weather Service for that forecast. I love your job because, there's no wrong way about it. It is a forecast, but it does help us to plan our evenings, our afternoons, our nights, and we are hump day. So it gives us some sort of an idea of what the weekend is shaping up to in case you're one of those boaters, got a boat, got a friend that has a boat. They're my best friends. Oh yeah. And you want to go out on the seas. So there you have it. Make your plans and we'll just keep you up to date as we get closer into the weekend. Good afternoon, everyone. I see you all coming in. Good evening. You hear the binging in the background? That's my girl sharing with the flower of the day, which will come up next. I wonder what flower of the day will make it today. And she got these names that poor me cannot even call. But I'm going to share them. We're going to have a kick out of it. Thank you, my sweet. I love you lots. And I think somebody else was sending me flowers yesterday. 936-8255. WhatsApp them on that number. 936-8255 if you want to get into this. Look like we're getting a plant segment here. Flowers of the day. And I love it. I love it. I love it. Honestly, it does bring something to you. Definitely. But for the person that was WhatsApping me on another number, 936-8255, to think, I saw them late last night, to be honest. So yeah. No, I see you. Don't worry. I'll get to you, my love. I'll get to you. Let's take a look at what headline and what news are making this evening's Sabrina Speaks news segment. And for those of you who are like, well, what the heck is she doing? Because I know we got newcomers to the platform every day. So it's worthwhile for me to explain this to my newcomers. If you feel like this is almost like a radio thing, guess what? We are preparing for radio because the CMR platform is heading for greater and bigger things. So what I've done, I've pretty much tailored the show in preparation for the next phase as we continue to grow in this space, because there will be a time very soon that this show, this podcast, is also available on radio. Yes. And we're going to be in the peak of that drive time traffic segment. So we're pretty much getting it structured for the next chapter of her phase. So if you're wondering, why is she changing? That's why. But for all of my oldies but goodies who've been here from day one, they get it. They see the transition. They see the improvements. And again, I thank you all for your feedback. Even though when it's on radio, you can't see it. The good thing about podcasting is that you can always go back. We're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram as well. I'm getting better at that. So yeah, on the CMR platforms, you can follow me as well. Look for the Sabrina Speaks, the number 12 on YouTube, and also Sabrina Turner, community activist on Facebook pages as well. But I love all of you who are following us. And thank you so much for sharing the love and sharing the links as we continue to build and grow here in this space. Let's take it now to our news headlines for this evening, starting locally, of course. We're going to go straight into the Ministry of Planning, Lands, Agriculture, Housing and Infrastructure has announced a new sustainability partnership that turns green waste into agricultural opportunities. Now, under the initiative, vegetation cleared during CUC's power line maintenance will now be diverted from the landfill and processed by the Department of Agriculture for compost and mulching. The ministry says this shift supports local farmers, strengthens soil health, and reduces waste, marking another step towards a more sustainable Cayman. Other local news, we put our attention over to His Majesty Cayman Islands Prison Service. Yes, they're reminding the public that rehabilitation is everyone's business. Now, behind every reintegration initiative, community support continues to play a critical role. From the F-Wing Family Fun Day to football competition, partners have stepped up with time, resources, and unwavering commitment. And because of that support, lives are being changed. Now, the service also recognizes Acting Director of Rehabilitation, Richard Barton. Congratulations, my friend, for driving and sustaining these partnerships. His Majesty's Prison Service extends thanks to all of the partners for standing with them and believing in the work that they all do. Congratulations, Richie, and congratulations to all of the staff right there. And I love to highlight my local businesses. Guess what? Look at this family duo. Congratulations to Daniel and Chris Kernel. They are representing their family-owned business, Kirk Freeport, this week at Watches and Wonders Geneva 2026, the world's premier showcase for fine watchmaking. Now, the event brings together the most prestigious Masons unwavering their newest releases, breakthrough technical innovations, and design directions that will define the year ahead. Now, it's a major moment for the industry, and the Kernels are right at the center of it, connecting Cayman's leading luxury retailer with the global watchmaking stage. Congratulations, Chris and Danielle, for representing and keeping up with the times and definitely doing a wonderful job. Thank you for all that you do in your local family business. Safe returns as well. Let's turn our attention now to regional international news this evening. Yes, fuel prices continue to climb as tensions escalate in the Middle East. And guess what? Jamaica's government is now weighing a familiar option, a return to work from home arrangements. Now, the Energy and Transport Minister, Darrell Vaz, says the administration is exploring ways to cut national fuel consumption. Amongst the measures on the table is a hybrid work from home model, similar to what was used during the pandemic. He stressed that no decision has been made, but the proposal is expected to go before cabinet. The decision comes as global oil prices surge from roughly $70 per barrel to near $100, placing pressure on Petrojam, which has already absorbed billions in losses to shield customers. Vaz says that that level of subsidiary is no longer sustainable and movement reduction policies may be necessary. For now, Jamaicans should note that work from home is not reinstated, but it is actively being considered as part of the government's response to the rising fuel costs. And more out of Jamaica for this evening, we see where the opposition leader, Mark Golding, is urging the government to move swiftly in addressing what he warns could become an inflation and energy cost crisis as the tensions in the Middle East continues to push global oil prices higher. Now, Golden says Jamaica is fully exposed with no oil hedge in place, and a rising fuel cost could soon drive up electricity bills, transportation, and the overall cost of living. He's calling for targeted measures to protect vulnerable Jamaicans and to stabilize the economy as geopolitical pressures continues to intensify. More here in the Caribbean. The 2026 Caribbean Hurricane Awareness Tour is now on their way. After taking off on April 14th from the Florida Keys Marathon International Airport, the NOAA Hurricane Hunters and their partners are traveling across the region to strengthen public preparedness ahead of the upcoming season. Now, today, the team is in Rotan, Honduras. Tomorrow, they head to Belize City, and on April 18th, the tour concludes in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Now, the mission gives communities a close-up look at aircrafts and experts who track and forecast hurricanes each year. That's a good educational and lovely field trip that everyone could take advantage of. For those of you who are streaming us, if you didn't know, they're in Rotan today, and tomorrow, Belize City, they're going to be knocking on your doors. To all my friends over there in Belize, hola, ¿cómo está? Buenas tardes. Yes, I got a little bit in me. More in our Caribbean region this evening. The 2026 IMF meetings are on their way. Yes. And, oops, I got the wrong image here. Please pardon me. The 2026 spring meetings are on their way with IMF. I know I got the image. Please bear with me. There we go. There we go. Yes, they're on their way in Washington, D.C., drawing global attentions as finance ministers, central bank governors, and regional leaders gather to assess, and rapidly shift glowing geopolitical landscape. Now, this year's agenda includes the World Economic Outlook, a key flagship reports, and high-level panels examining economic impact of the war in the Middle East. Delegates from across the region and around the world are on the ground and ready as the meeting sets the tone for global financial stability and policy direction in the year ahead. And coming out of that meeting, guess what? Barbados has taken another major step from dialogue to delivery at the IMF and World Bank spring meetings. Prime Minister Mia Moore-Motley today formalized a new agreement with the OPEC fund aimed to unlocking investments, strengthening private sector growth, and expanding access to financing for climate vulnerable nations. Now, the partnership builds on work that Barbados began back in Vienna through its leadership of the V20, focused on securing fairer support for countries on the front lines of climate impacts. Prime Minister Motley says that the agreement represents practical progress, real partnership, and action where it matters most. There you have it from our region. And as we wind down this evening's edition of Sabrina Speaks News, we look at the UK. Crackdown on illegal working is what's making the headlines out of the UK today, because the UK government has announced tougher enforcement measures targeting both employers and undocumented workers. New rules include stricter right-to-work checks, more workplace inspections, and unlimited fines for companies hiring individuals without legal status. Now, authorities recorded high record enforcement activity back in 2025, and the Home Office says that the pressure will intensify even much more. More out of the UK is recruitment market uncertainty is building. The UK recruiters warned that the ongoing Middle East conflict may weaken global hiring conditions. And while some regions are showing early signs of recovery, firms are monitoring the risk of broader economic fallout if tensions continues. And as we end today, we end it with our business roundup. Yes. Global's markets closed mixed today as investors weighed in on rising oil prices and ongoing geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. United States, the Dow Jones and S&P 500 ended slightly lower, while tech stocks helped the Nasdaq inch towards as traders reacted to another jump in crude prices. Over in Europe, the FTSE 100 in London slipped, pressured by energy cost concerns and softer consumer sentiment. Asia markets were mostly steady, with Tokyo posting modest gains on strong manufacturing data. Now, across the Caribbean, several exchanges, including the Cayman Islands Stock Exchange, the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and markets in Barbados and Trinidad, did not publish any end-of-day closing summaries for today. The trading activity across the region remains influenced by global fuel volatility and reduced volumes following recent holiday periods. Oil continues to be the dominant driver, with Brent crude hovering near $100 per barrel, raising concerns about inflationary pressures for import-dependent economies. There you have it this evening. But there's a lot. I tell you, we could do practically an entire 2 hours on what's going on around the world, and we don't want to be left in the dark, which is why I take great pride in bringing this to you this every evening to let you know what's happening. Happy birthday to all of those who are celebrating a birthday today, or a wedding anniversary, or just celebrating life. From all of us, here on the Sabrina Speaks family, we celebrate with you, and we send you lots of love. For all of those as well who are mourning the loss of a loved one, our thoughts and prayers are with you, and our sincere condolences as well. I got some information that a family friend, we know how close Kim and Brack is, that there was a death there, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends of Miss Ello. in over there in the BRAC. So our thoughts and prayers are with you during this time as you mourn the loss of her as well. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome, welcome, one and all. How are you all this evening? Hello to you. It's good. The music by my friend Berman Scott. Oh yeah, he gets me going. Oh yes, there's just something about Berman music, period. It brings back the days of Kim and Brack and yes, Aunt Wiva, Sharon Ebank's mummy, on the back of her yard, dancing on top of that cistern top. It still happens, old time. The sun, oh yeah, it brings back. There's just something unique about Mr. Berman's music that takes me back to my childhood days. And I guess that's why I wring out my knee, because I was doing that from a child. But for all of you from over there in Kim and Brack and know what it's like to go back way back when you could play football in the road, you pretty much can still do it because you could hear the cars coming as it echoes off the bluff. But all those good parties that I used to have in her yard, Sharon continues as well to keep up that tradition. Kudos to you, my cuz Sharon, for keeping that up. You want a good throwdown party, Sharon's the place to be. But yeah, that's your friend Aliano. Oh, you had the call. How are you? How are you healing? Oh, missed ya. I see where Out Town was busy today. What, 3 cruise ships? 2, 3? They were pretty big as well. It's good to see you with us. I hope you're doing well. We missed you. You know, I sent out the call for you, put out an APB for you. North Carolina's in the house. Marshall, good evening, my love. How are you? It's so good to have you. Yes, yes, yes. It's good to have you here with us. Andrew as well is in the house. Donnie Don, how are your orchids? It's good to have you here. Damian Henry, let's see what you got for us today. He says, good evening all. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. The only time you fail is when you fall down and stay down. Oh yeah, we not staying down. That's not into us. We got to rub them knees. We could get up. We could stretch them off. Blow it off as stiff as days and just keep going. That's how we do it here. Connie Bonnie, yes, the massive. We are here live and direct. Thank you so much for sharing the love. Laugh out loud. I went easy with you. Thank God, because boy, you've been putting me in some kind of tongue twisters here. Thank you so much for all the love. And Connie is sharing with us today. Guess what she said? She made it easy for me. She felt sorry for me. This is one of her beautiful water lilies. You see, that wasn't hard, was it? So for all of you, this is a water lily. It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, it's beautiful. So thank you for sharing. That's the flower of the day. And Connie is sending me flowers of the day so that I can post here so that you can see, you can enjoy, sets the tone, shows you again how we just include all of you in here. And for all of you plant lovers, you can want to send me one of the day, you can. I'm not a green thumb at all, but I'm much better than I thought, to be honest. So yeah, what she says, I'm just encouraging people to showcase their talents. Never know where it may take us. You are so right. And you're doing a marvelous job, Connie, with how you maintain your orchids and all of your plants. Kudos to you. It says a lot about your space, your environment, and all that sort of stuff. Oh God, poor me. Only the ZZ plants and the snake plants, I can think, a little bit of periwinkle. Yeah, that everything else just go blop on me. I'm horrible. I am horrible. But yeah, I feel proud. I feel proud if they last longer than a week. Hey, Suzette, good evening. I am happy. How are you doing? Oh, thank you so much. I'm doing a great job. Thank you, Suzette. You guys make me happy. Once upon a time, I used to be sweating bullets when I knew I was going live. I was making sure that I could hold the audience and make sure that it was thought-provoking conversations and topics that, made sense as we elevate, talk, and educate and inform and inspire people here on this space. And it's just blossomed into its own. And based on the feedback that I'm getting, a lot of the topics as well is steered by you. And I'm just, once I'm comfortable with delivering, I will do it. Ad-libbing is great, but not based on what I'm hearing a lot of you ask. I have to do research. So yes, for me to keep on topic, one, I got to make sure that I have my notes in front of me and make sure that it's from reliable sources as well. So thank you again for all of the feedback, and hence today's topic. You can see the relativity of it based on the news headlines that I told you what was going on with Barbados. Congratulations to her for doing that. And to let you know where we fit into the scope of things, because you may sometimes hear our Minister for Financial Services and Premier say he's going away for these meetings and all that sort of stuff. And then you look at it, but we're not a full member state of CARICOM. We're not an independent jurisdiction. We don't sit at the big tables. No, we don't. We are represented by the United Kingdom. So then you may say, well, what the heck are we going for? It'll all make sense this evening. And we put it down in layman's terms so that we can understand, that the House will be going to Parliament in the coming weeks and so forth. And there are certain bills and laws that we are amending. When we do topics like the international money funds and small island development states, and you hear all of these acronyms being used, and when we look at Cayman, understanding our place in the global money market for being a jurisdiction where a lot of our money to keep circulating that's being attracted into our society is coming from, why not bring a topic like this in layman's terms so that no one is felt out when certain things are being discussed, right? So hence the birth. And this is why this conversation came about today. So yes, I thank you all, but from flowers to birthday celebrations, we've had a few tears as well, and just celebrating people. That is what this space is about. But I thank you all for your support. Most importantly, your live feedback and comments. And of course, 345-936-8255. You can always WhatsApp me. You can call in and be a part of the conversation and the discussion. And of course, all I ask is that you remain respectful. Try to keep on topic as best that we can. Again, Fridays are open mic. Every and anything is on the table at that time. And sometimes we may have breaking news. There may be things that sometimes we have to just change the topic and put attention on what really matters. But if we have persons, let's say like today's topic, and you're working in an industry and you don't mind coming on board and sharing your knowledge with a community, we're only stronger when we're all informed and educated, and I will continue to do it here. So thank you so much, Ms. Suzette. That means a lot to me. Aliano, ayaso. You are something. The 1 foot villain. You are something else. What you say, you need to go back. Oh, you're not going back to work yet. Oh, okay. Yeah, you got to be careful though, because even with what you do, circulation and all that good stuff. But Aliano, I think your problem is your diet. We need to make sure you're on a strict diet without talking your business. But I got a little nursing background and kind of reading between the lines, my friend. But yeah, we wish you a speedy recovery, but it's good to hear from you. I put up that APB and thank you for honoring the call and making us know you're still there with us, of course. Yes, Carter, you get it. You get the picture. Back to work. Yeah, you want to get back to work. I understand that. I know you can only be home for so long, but when you're actually healing, and sometimes it takes a little longer based on your situation or person's situation. So yeah, just give some patience and make sure you follow doctor's instructions, please. You are more than welcome. It's my pleasure. It is my pleasure to do this for you. God bless you. Read Romans Road. He will never leave nor forsake thee. Thank you. Yep. I just got to keep positive and just give thanks, even for the good stuff, even for the bad stuff. Bad and good, because there's a silver lining in everything. And I am a living witness of that there is a silver lining in everything. We just need to just believe and continue to move in faith, as I will continue here. Hey, my Hennessy, Jesus, God, Aliano, you're going to need a flogging. You need a flogging. I'm not even paying you no mind. You just get better soon. We need you back out on the road, okay? Let's get right into it. Like I said, the topic this evening is the IMF as Small Island Development States, which is the acronym that you're seeing, SIDS and Cayman, and understanding our place in the global money world. And what my aim is here, in case you missed it at the intro, is that my aim is to break down what global financial decisions means for small islands like us here in the Cayman Islands, and how the Cayman Islands fit into the big picture. You're all invited to join in and participate in this conversation. And as we talk money, power, island resilience in real life lingo, so that everyone is included and hopefully understands. And the aim is every segment, you should take away nuggets that you've learned something as that we have imparted here. And when you look at a small island development state in the bigger footprint of the world, small islands are vulnerable. Global rules affects us even more, and we don't vote on them. Because if we're not at the big table, because the Cayman Islands specifically, for this statement, we are a British overseas territory citizen, jurisdiction. So the UK is at the table, not the Cayman Islands. So global rules affects us even when we don't vote on them, but we depend on the UK to vote, and then we feel the trickle-down effect. And for us here in the Cayman Islands, we are unique, wealthy. What doesn't take away from us is that we are still a small island development state, a SIDS. Yes. So let's go with the whole acronym, the IMF, that you've heard what's going on right now in Washington and what the Prime Minister from Barbados is doing. There's lots more that's happening, but because it's relative and we can relate to it, I felt it was important for me to just use that as the hook, as the foundation, to see what she's doing with those agreements and how she's putting those funds into her country. And we will share what the benefits are as well, and what that MOU means and that agreement made for what the people could look forward for in Barbados. The IMF really stands for, that acronym stands for the International Monetary Fund. IMF stands for the International Monetary Fund. And it's a global financial institution that was created to help keep the world economy stable. You will notice in the news headlines that I've been giving over the past couple of days, even the markets, everything is hinging on what's happening in the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, the cost of crude and how much is being sold per barrel. And what this International Money Fund, this whole global institution, is really to keep the world economy stable. It doesn't run countries. It doesn't control governments either, but it plays a major, major role in how global financial systems operates. Stick a pin and bear in mind, we, the Cayman Islands, depend on our financial services, tourism, as two of our key pillars, right? So this is why we need to pay close attention. And the IMF was designed to step in when countries face serious economic trouble. And trouble meaning if they find themselves in situations when a country's currency collapses, when inflation gets out of control, or even when a government can't pay its bills and risk defaulting. You hear what I'm saying? Read in between the lines. In those moments, the IMF is there to provide financial support and technical guidance to help stabilize the country's situation. Now, beyond crisis support, the IMF also sets global financial standards. And these standards, my friends, will influence how banks operate, how investors make decisions, and how governments manage their economic policies. So think of the IMF like the world's financial referee. And they don't run the game, but their whistle is very loud, and everyone, when that whistle is blown, pays attention. The IMF's assessments and whatever recommendations they make can actually shape the world's views, a country's economy. And that, my friends, can affect borrowing costs. It can affect investment decisions. It can affect overall financial confidence in that industry. So even if a country never ever borrows from the IMF's influence by itself still has the possibility or still has the reach that it can impact global financial systems, which is why the Cayman Islands and you, as common everyday citizens, need to understand when you hear these things what it means. Yes. And the acronym Small Island Development States, you have heard me using it a lot of times. SIDs, you may hear me call that a lot. We need to understand our vulnerabilities. And yes, I know we're a British overseas jurisdiction. We're not like all of those over in CARICOM. We are not like Jamaica, Barbados, or like them. No, we good. We UK. Hello. Proximity matters. We're in the Caribbean. And at the end of the day, what it really means to be a small island development state or a SIDS does not have any impact alone because we are a BOTC, because we're still vulnerable location and just our sheer size. These are not just labels on a jurisdiction because of where we're placed, because we're islands. My friends, these are real life challenges that can really shape how islands like ours function, how even our economies behave, and even the quality and the way our people live. And when you look at small islands, because of how they're made up, small islands, they consist of small populations, even though some of our islands have much more than others. And that means that based on small populations, economies don't have the same size or strength like larger countries do. With fewer people, we still see that we have smaller workforce, and we see what that is right now happening in the Cayman Islands based on demand. Hence, we are doing a robust immigration amendment and reform, making sure that even with these reforms, we protect our own people. We make sure that we still create that delicate balance where income is still coming in. We create an environment where persons can actually start a business, get jobs, move up accordingly. But we also see, just by being a small island jurisdiction, that small tax base. And even though we're a tax-free jurisdiction, we still pay stamp duty, okay? But because this is for the collective, remember, Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, conversation for the world. We're not limiting ourselves in this space for the 345. So sometimes you will hear me saying about taxes and all that sort of stuff. Indirect is here. We've heard the comments many a times saying, well, we pay taxes, just it's not labeled so. But I'll leave that for you to comment if you so choose. But what we say as well is that we have fewer industries, and we know that for a fact, to rely on, especially us in the Cayman Islands, where our imports per capita, when you look at us in the region, our imports is one of the highest in the region. Yes, what we import. So when something goes wrong, we don't have millions of people or massive industries to absorb the shock. Every impact feels bigger because the very sheer size of our population. And when you look then at our limited resources, most small island development states have limited natural resources. Take a look around. Take a look around at the Cayman Islands. When you look at these limited resources jurisdiction, we don't have large manufacturing sectors or huge agricultural lands, or in our case, major mineral reserves. And what that means for us, my friends, is that we can't produce anything we need. And we can't rely on natural resources to drive our economies. And this is why we have to be creative. And it's all about a balance as well. Because our strength, really and truly, and this is going to blow your socks off, our strength comes from our people, our services, and our creativity, not from large resource wealth. Sometimes you will hear parliamentarians on the floor of Parliament get up and say, you know, we have to understand our markets. We have to handle this carefully. We are a service-based economy. That in itself is because naturally we're a small island development jurisdiction and we have very limited natural resources. So yes, our strength comes from our people, our services, and our creativity, not from resource wealth. And talking about the imports, because we don't produce most of what we consume, small island development states are highly import dependent. We see it in food, we see it in fuel, we see it in building materials, medication. Practically everything comes from somewhere else. So when global prices rise, when we see shipping costs increase, or when supply chains even break down, small island jurisdictions feels it almost instantaneously. And why? Because we don't have the luxury of producing our way out of a crisis. In many cases, we don't even have the land mass or the facility space based on whatever it is to stockpile stuff, which is why shipping routes, proper cargo facilities, no breakdown in services for replenishing is vital. And look at the tourism sector. Tourism dependent. Many small island jurisdictions rely heavily on tourism. Be it stayover, meaning those who coming in by air or cruise, or otherwise. Medical tourism as well. Sports tourism, those are other avenues. Tourism labeled for conferences, annual conventions, tourism because of concerts. You got people that will travel the world to, let's say, see Lady Gaga or Chris Brown, or I don't know. You get where I'm coming from with this? You have their fans that will travel the world to see them. And that's when you get an opportunity as well to showcase your jurisdiction. So hence, tourism from a different perspective. And what we see from these industries, because of us relying so heavily on tourism as well, the tourism sector brings jobs, income, and foreign exchange. But it also makes us vulnerable. We saw what happened during COVID. Because if flights stop, if global travel slows, or if crisis hits the tourism industries, our economies feel it instantly. I go back to COVID-19, when entire islands lost their main source of income literally overnight. So at the end of the day, tourism is a blessing, but it's also a major point in where it comes under vulnerability. And then you look then at climate risks. Yes. Small island development states, SIDS, are on the front lines for climate change. Because what happens is that we face stronger hurricanes. We are seeing rising sea levels. We're seeing coastal erosion that is impacting a lot of the infrastructure along our 7-mile corridors. One of the things that were our biggest selling point in for a tourist, coastal erosion, we're seeing it. We're seeing flooding. And for what's in the forecast for 2026, we're also seeing heat stress. And this is so big. One storm can wipe out years of development. And climate risk is not a theory for us. It's a lived reality every hurricane season. Yes, it's a reality. Aliano says the stipend was nice, but the lockdown sucked. Yeah. And that stipend had to be paid and came out of somewhere. We still have to give God thanks that our country was able to lock down and still was able to find funding to be able to even assist those persons in that sector. So we have to give all of those who came before really a round of applause, because we would have been in a much worse position. And look, the financial industry and people were buying property just blindly. We did very well. Yes. I would like to hear, would we get through the coming economic? Well, you better pray. My friend, pray. Pray. You hear what I say? Pray. Hey, Miss Dorothy, how you doing, my sweets? Good to have you with us from Florida. Another thing that we have to look out for as well as the small island development jurisdiction is the high cost of living. Christ, even our locals are feeling this. It just comes with us living in a jurisdiction of our size. Because we import so much, because our markets are so small, the cost of living is naturally higher in small island jurisdictions. Every God's thing costs more to bring in. And as we see what's happening geopolitically, brace for impact. We don't have the economies of scale that larger countries enjoy. So you can't bring in, for example, of one item. Example, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Let's say a 40-foot container of just Tide liquid detergent. You see what I'm saying? We don't have the economies of scale for just one container just of Tide detergent. You need to speak to the people in the industry, and Mr. Woody has been on here a lot of times. So when you hear the economies of scale, that wouldn't be sound for him to bring in 1 or 2 containers of just one item, because we don't have the economies of scale when we have limited size ships that can come in here and one container just holding that one item, not making much sense. economies of scale. If we were larger, that you could justify that one container could be divested of by that one supplier, that one retail provider, in, let's say, by the time the next shipment come, good to go. But their share economy of scale or size or population, on the money side of things, it's a waste. It's a waste. Yes. That is when you talk about economies of scale. And we're not like larger countries that can benefit from economies of scale. Some families will feel the pressure more intensely. And of course, governments have to work harder to keep essential services affordable, which is why sometimes when we go and we run our mouths and not understanding economics, economy of scale, and we say we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and you're not looking at the ripple effects, oh boy, Houston, we got a problem. One crisis, my friends, can shake an entire island. And in large countries, a crisis is one sector can be absorbed by others. But in a country like the Cayman Islands, one crisis can shake an entire island. A hurricane, tourism shut down, global recession, or a spike in fuel prices, just bringing it home to reality, can disrupt a whole economy at once. There is very little buffer and recovery. In this case, and in many cases, takes longer because our systems are smaller and are more fragile. So there are 7 key things that small island jurisdictions just like ours have to consider. Because when we talk about small island development jurisdictions, really what we're talking about is islands that are beautiful, resilient, full of potential, but uniquely are very vulnerable. And it's only when we understand these vulnerabilities that we are even able to understand why global decisions matter, why stability matters, and why it is important that you know what's happening on the other side of the world, and why small islands must always be strategic in how we navigate the world. Not each other, not regionally, because I can assure you our brothers and sisters 45 minutes away, Eastern Caribbean, they gonna feel it just like us. Yes. Denver says, the PPM did an excellent job on the lockdown, and they were pretty good on saving money for the rainy day, but succeed on protection of the people of the Cayman, sucked on the protecting the people of the Cayman Islands. Andrew says, well, Cayman Islands is a British dependent territory. It doesn't have the industrial capacity to seek any financial support from the IMF. You are 100% about becoming creative with our plans for sustainability. Our financial industry, as a major player globally, isn't what it used to be. Tourism is very fickle, as rising costs will affect us more and most Caribbean islands due to non-production of food and materials. At this time, we have to get the drawing board and sketching out a mode, some sort of model. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And Denver says the only reason we have limited size ships is because the PPM allowed the foreign people and select Cayman idiots to stop the port project. As if it had went through, the shipping companies would have leased much larger ship to import our goods. I'm quite sure that topic will come back up very soon. My gut is telling me that is actually the case. Andrew further says, I went to a local discount store recently to get toilet paper and they didn't have any. This was the third time. I went there in the first month and they didn't have. Can we imagine if shipments are not able to bring in and the cost? Well, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Economies of scale. And right now, with what is happening with the world, we see right now in international news where cargo ships now are being turned back and are not being able to pass through the straits. These are cargo ships, not even only with crude oil. So if we're thinking that we're not going to have an issue, and even if we say, oh, we're not getting stuff directly from their raw materials, let's say, go back to toilet paper. Let's say that the roll for the toilet paper comes from the base product of that is coming from over there and it's being turned back. Maybe those companies, I'm just using this hypothetically as an example. You can make the paper, but what are you going to put it on? Creativity. But that may come at a higher cost. So we may continue to see the cost of that going up because, again, countries are looking, companies don't have certain things. We see where farmers are pretty much in a panic because the chemicals are used for fertilizing our goods that should have actually been on shelves right now is being blocked because of all of this blockade that has been going on. And it could impact crops for our summer fruits and vegetables and stuff because the lack thereof. Farmers are literally panicking because of what's happening. Yes. So these are real things that could impact us. And you can see why I brought it down into context is that it just highlights the vulnerabilities of small island development jurisdictions. Now, I'm not telling anybody or everybody to go out there and start hoarding. That's not a solution either. Yes. Andrew says, I would hate to say this, but I see rationing of goods per family if things continue to worsen. Andrew, if people really listen and pay attention to some of the news headlines, they can connect the dots. And I'm not withholding information. I'm not withholding any information because I'm not the government. I'm not the government. But common sense will tell you there's just certain things. If you are going to prepare for possibly the inevitable, you would get your house in order and just do basic things, not hoarding, not to go and panic shop because that's not helping the situation either. But be smart. Hurricane season is coming. Maybe you may want to start ahead of time in doing certain things so that it's not a mad dash for things that may be out of completely because they're just supply chain issues or they just can't get them again. But I would prepare for exactly what you're alluding to right there without saying what I know you're saying. Aliano says, I'm going to invest in a toilet paper making machine. You son of a gun. Yeah, I bet you want her to go drive again. Some silver thatch parm, booty wipes. Oh, Aliano, what are we going to do with you? What are we going to do with you? Denver says, we're very dominant in the financial world. And there are multi-billionaires that continues to invest. However, some of the very big investors are concerned about the deal our premier has signed to get us off the blacklist. Mr. Anthony Travers made a statement on the Austin Harris and Elio Solomon show last year. And who knows better than this man? I got to double check and see what he said. I think there was an article for True on that. I'll look in more into that, Denver. So we'll stick a pin there. Let me stick a pin there. And I will go back to see exactly what that means. So, well, who to tell? Maybe you've heard us say, hint, hint, there is a good opportunity for our government to just have a press briefing with everything that's going on right now around the world and have representatives from the various stakeholders and industries, i.e. the Chamber of Commerce, our utilities companies, our supermarket representatives, our fuel supply companies. I'm not talking about RFREG, I'm talking about fuel supply companies, and just have a representative from the opposition, of course, a representative, the premier from our government, our elected arm, and of course, the governor. Address the nation, because you guys are saying it here, but are you hearing it from the powers that be? Yes, we heard blanket comments. Oh, that we're watching what's going on geopolitically. When was the last time that was? And we see what's happening right now. We see the indirect warnings from CUC. We're hearing what's happening with the cost of fuel. We're seeing what's happening regionally, that they're considering working from home options. We have seen certain other jurisdictions that have actually gone into 4-day work weeks. I'm not saying it again. Control the narrative, my friends. All you have to do, and I know we just had the Easter weekend, oh, you're just coming back. When you look at the last time a statement was made about the beginning phases of what was going on with this war, that was a long time ago. And we continue to see certain things continue to become a reality. We're seeing where it's extended even longer. Your people need to hear. Your people need to hear from our leaders, representatives from certain industries, so that you don't have somebody creating a narrative that isn't aligning with facts when you have certain key people speaking key things. You're seeing media from other jurisdictions that are getting funding and doing certain things to help their people to weather the storm, geopolitically or otherwise. We're hearing crickets. If you agree, comment below. If you disagree with me, comment below. Would you want to see a press briefing where you can have industry stakeholders at the same table addressing the nation to just get information to let us know where are we in the state of readiness, not just from your politician, but industry stakeholders, representatives? It would be interesting to get your feedback on it. It would be. You could see it if you could get in your show. See if I could get him on your show someday. Tony Travers, I'd be more than happy. Personally, I know these Cayman Island status holders since I was in the banking business for a short term for 4 years. Yeah, I get you, Denver. Thank you for that idea. These are the people that were very concerned about Cayman, which they have helped build the financial industry and genuinely care about Cayman and Caymanians. It's one thing about casting the net and doing a public invitation or otherwise, if they have the appetite or desire to come on this platform. But I don't know why, but I will definitely try my best to reach out, Denver. But yeah, I would be happy to have that level of discussion with them here on the Sabrina Speaks. Yes, Aliano says that there are some places that are putting limitations on fuel use, and how true is that? And what will Cayman look like with motor vehicle lockdown? What about all of you guys who make your living from that? Denver says, yes, there are about 5 of them. Thank you for that information. Now, when you look at understanding what the IMF is, I want us to take us through and see it through the lines and talk a little bit about how their decisions actually affect countries, especially small island jurisdictions like ours, the BVI, Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, because the IMF isn't just, as I said at the beginning, an organization that is on paper. That body of people, that organization, influence shows up in real life ways that people feel every single day. And every year, the IMF publishes reports on countries and economic health. Economic health meaning the financial health, right? And these reports are really read by banks, investors, credit rating agencies, and also international partners, right? Now, if the IMF says a country is stable, investors are going to take their word for it, and they get a feeling of confidence. They actually feel confident, right? But if the IMF raises concerns, what happens is that investors then become very cautious. So even without lending money, the IMF words can actually affect whether investors put money into a country, how expensive it is for that country to borrow, how really the world would view the country's financial stability overall. And in short, what happens is that what the IMF says can move or halt markets. Now that's powerful. Connie is saying, yes, we need to know. That is, yes, we need to hear from the government with a press briefing of some sort with industry stakeholders. Thank you for that feedback. And please, at the end of the day, I welcome it. So when we look at that, IMF itself, when they give advice, in the great scheme of things, governments should or they pay attention, okay? Even if they don't always agree, they can't say they don't know. It's placed in the front of their eyes. And if the IMF recommendations can influence decision on, let's say, a country's taxes, their public spending, their subsidies, what they can get, social programs, how they can uplift their voters, their people, their country, and debt management. Governments know that ignoring the IMF's advice can severely affect their credibility internationally as well. So, if the IMF's recommendations often shape national policy, it will do that directly and or indirectly. What we also see from this is that it sets global standards for financial stability as well. And those global standards influence, really, again, we're a banking jurisdiction. They influence how banks operate, how regulations are written, how compliance systems are even designed, and how financial oversight is carried out in a country. And what we see is that countries adopt these standards to stay aligned with global financial systems. You saw where Denver made a comment that there were certain things our premier agreed to, and we had other people disagree, and that it could possibly impact. I will look deeper into that. And you may have a spin-off from this from persons who are in the industry. But the bottom line is, for many small islands with financial sectors like the Cayman Islands, like our home, these standards matter even more. And let me tell you why. Because our credibility, our international reputation depends largely on meeting international expectations and standards. And when countries borrow from the IMF, the loans often comes with some conditions, let me tell you. And that could include cutting government spending. It could include reduced subsidies. It could include, for those countries, small island development states that have tax, it can increase even their taxes. And it can even impact the restructuring of their public services. Yes. This is known as austerity. You learned a word today. And it helps stabilizes the economy, but it also can be painful to the citizens in the short term because there's nothing called a free lunch. Not every money, not every loan is good. Not every country faces austerity, but it happens when people of that country or those country feels it directly. Andrew says, start planting more trees, breadfruit, ackee, papaya, mango, lime, scotch bonnet, whatever you can grow in your backyard. Famine is coming. Not fiction, a reality. The average purchasing price of the dollar has diminished. All this war is about is petrodollar and control of the oil industry and the 1% who control the financial system. Wake up, everyone. It's reshaping before our eyes. One currency. Denver says, the core issue with the IMF's role in the Caribbean is the tension between stabilization and sovereignty. The IMF provides financing, technical advice, and economic surveillance. But its policy prescriptions often collide with the region's structural vulnerabilities, political realities, and development needs. You're quite right. Damien says, there's one size fit all approach is one of the biggest issue with the IMF. Well, we go get to the bottom of some of this today to tell us exactly where we're aligning. But stick with me. What we see, my friends, is that small island development states are more, and we have established that. We see our vulnerabilities, and there are more vulnerabilities than the larger countries. Why? We said it, in case you missed it. Smaller economies, fewer industries, higher import dependence, and greater, far, far, far much greater exposure to climate risks. So when we see global financial conditions changing, whether through IMF policies, rising interest rates, global inflation of some sort, geopolitics, small island development states feel these impacts faster and more intensely. And what we're seeing is that a shock that a large country can absorb, but not like the shock wave it will have on small island countries. So when we look then at their IMF's influence, we're not talking about something distant or something that's even abstract. No, we're talking about real life impacts, real life effects on investment, government's decisions, banking rules, even national budgets, and everyday lives of our people. But especially in small island, vulnerable states like ours. So even though we may not have a direct seat at the table, and the seat at the table is filled by the UK representatives, the trickle-down effect, just by how our national model is set up and where we get a lot of our income from. You think some of those instructions not passed down through England that it's impacting how we're operating today? Think again. All that I have said so far, and especially on the last part with their influence on us, even if we don't borrow from the IMF, they still have the power. They still shape the world we live in. You see where Jamaica's IMF programs, Barbados' economic reforms, we see it again in the headlines, and we see Grenada's recovery plan, all IMF backed. Yeah, because what I'm going to do is that I'm going to bring it home with Cayman's unique position with the IMF. But before doing that, what I have seen, and just as I read into the news today, is that we see where our neighbor there in the Barbados, for context, in case you missed it, Barbados just secured Barbadian dollars 100 million in development financing from the OPEC fund. And I'm reading this directly. And this money isn't about oil. What it is, my friend, it's about this agreement that they got into, right? Is about strengthening their social services, supporting vulnerable families, and improving the systems that help people. In their case, it is a long-term investment in the well-being of Barbadians, especially during a time when small islands are facing big pressures. Now, for their case, this isn't quick cash for them. It's an investment in the future well-being of the people in Barbados. And the OPEC fund also recently partnered, listen to this, with Caribbean Development Bank to expand financing across the region. But guess for what? To expand financing across the region for climate resilience, renewable energy, food security, youth programs, and more. Yes. So all of my people from Barbados, your country isn't just getting a loan. Barbados is stepping into a bigger regional opportunity. Now, the big question is, what are the conditions? We ain't getting into their local politics. I'm just letting you know and using that as an example of how other small island development states is using these organizations and what they're used for. So the biggest takeaway about this agreement that Barbados has just executed, it is really about strengthening the social backbone of Barbados. And that is really the system that protects the people, supports families, keep communities stable, and it's development money, not debt trouble. It's development money, not debt trouble. It's a long-term investment, not a short-term panic. So what we're seeing there is Barbados capitalizing on these. And hopefully what the people of Barbados will see is exactly some of the things that I've cited here. I'm hearing people crying for bigger, better hospitals, a better and a more improved healthcare system over there. But again, let them deal with their local politics. I'm just giving you context based on what we're talking about. And we know that Barbados is a small island development state, just like us here in the Cayman Islands. But I want to bring it home. I want to bring it home with where we are uniquely positioned in the IMF world. Denver says, in many societies throughout history, charging any interest at all was illegal or considered morally forbidden, especially under religious laws. What we now call interest is historically treated as usury, and for long periods, usury meant interest, not just excessive rates. Denver further says, we need more premiers and leaders in the Caribbean, like Miss Mia Motley. She has a very strong voice. She has a strong following internationally. She's well respected, and she's definitely trumpeting climate change and the resilience, being resilient, and the vulnerabilities as small island jurisdictions are impacted. And she's using that to maximize what she can get out of all of these things. Good for her. Good for her. At what expense now? Again, let her deal with that locally. The woman has succeeded in the polls for 3 terms. The people know. Just leave it. But for the context of what we're talking about, there we go. Leave her alone and let her deal with the politics side of things, the local side of things. But internationally, I must say, yeah, she's well respected around the world. No surprise to people here. Cayman is not, and if you didn't know this before, you know it now. Cayman is not a member of the International Monetary Authority Fund. Just let me make that abundantly clear. And it's not because we opt out or because we didn't even qualify. It is because the Cayman Islands is a British overseas territory. And what that means is that the United Kingdom the IMF membership, they do that on our behalf. Yes. And really what that means then is that we do not have a vote at the IMF. Cayman does not sit at the table when decisions are being made. Cayman does not borrow money directly from the IMF. And all of that is handled, my friends, through the UK. For the mere fact that the UK is the sovereign state. But, and this is the part I want us to understand, our people, even though Cayman is not a member, we still have to follow global financial standards. And that, my friends, the global financial standards that the IMF helps shape. You may say, but that's not making much sense. Let me tell you why. It does. It does because we, the Cayman Islands, is a global financial hub. Remember I said it at the beginning. Follow me. We host thousands of financial institutions. You heard me right. Investment funds and international businesses alike. Our entire reputation depends on meeting the highest global standards for transparency, regulation, and financial stability as well. Hence, Denver made that statement. So, my friends, when the IMF sets expectations for banking rules, anti-money laundering standards, oh my God, what are you trying to do me right now to open up one account just because I ran and for office, I am a pep. Oh my goodness, what I am going through just because I served. I can't put it into words. I just have to sit and wait, but I digressed. When the IMF sets expectations for financial oversight or even global best practices, our island, the Cayman Islands, must align with those standards to maintain credibility for international financial systems. We don't borrow money from the IMF. Let me repeat. We don't vote in the IMF. But we absolutely operate in a world influenced by IMF rules. And because of our financial sector is so important to our economy, staying aligned with these global standards, my friends, is not a choice. It's not optional. It is vital. So Cayman's position is quite unique. Because of us not being a member, we are deeply connected. We don't participate in the decisions, yes, but we live in the environment that those decisions create. And our financial strength depends largely on staying in unison, in line, in step with global systems. Yes. Trust me, we don't sit at the table, but we still eat the food they cook whether or not you like it. You see the FATF rules, you hear the OECD transparency, you hear the AML regulations, global tax standards. Yeah, all of that. We eat the food whether or not we like it. So if we don't vote, how do small islands speak up then? Hey, I could tell you about that. We going in there. So I'm hoping you're following me with where this all makes sense, right? Hope I'm not boring you either. Damien says Jamaica owes roughly US 600 and Barbados, that's million. Barbados US 400 million. Please, Damien, make sure those are right. Overall, national debt. Interesting. Denver Douglas says she's a real leader protector for her people and her country. I'm assuming you're speaking about Premier Mia Motley. CE Banks, good evening. It's so good to have you here with us. Denver also says, we allow the UK to have too much control over Cayman because of weak leadership. That's not the case, Denver. Unfortunately, Constitution, I think we really need to look at that because that's a broad statement and it is not entirely true. You got to understand how it is. You can have our leaders going over there and beating their chests and all that sort of stuff. There's some serious constitutional changes to adhere that if they're doing it in isolation, and that's saying everything you have to roll over and play dead with. We have seen representatives of the past and we've heard stories where we've had leaders before that have gone over there and said, not today, Bobo. There's a way, but it's the things and times now have changed. And it's not just that simple as bottom line what I'm saying. Yes, we could have some more assertive leadership, but that takes collective responsibility and you need the support of all your people. But at the end of the day, as a British overseas territorial jurisdiction that answers to the UK, we need to do a segment exclusively on that as to what that means and how you stay in line versus how much push really does your elected arm have when it comes to saying, I'm going to march over to the UK and this is what we want and that's what we want. Let's see whether or not you'll be entertained or you'll be like, I don't know. Stick a pin right there. We can possibly look at that entirely, but thank you for sharing your comment. I love that, Denver. Keep coming, keep them coming. Damian Henry says the Cayman Islands often shares financial data with the IMF Statistics Department for global economic dissemination, even though it's not a member. Correct. It's just because of how we are shaped and we are heavily a financial jurisdiction. Denver Douglas says Danny could really expound on that. I'm sure he could. And the floor is open. Denver says, you are really screwed because of our administration. Oh, you don't understand the spillover effects of running and serving your country. And it is a trickle-down effect even to my immediate family for doing nothing wrong, but for serving your country. It's just how you're labeled. To be honest, but that's a personal thing. I just have to exercise patience because I ain't dirty. That's for sure. Andrew Campbell says in 2004, Hurricane Ivan, it is stated that Cayman Islands sustained CI $3 billion damage apart from insurance companies paying out claims. Where did we get financial backing? Excellent question. I'm quite sure a combination of things. I think there was some borrowing as well from the UK. Is that was from that? I don't know. We can dig into that. Andrew, let me just do that. Please remind me. Denver says, I'm sorry, we have an option. Better, stronger government. Don't stand down. They're afraid to stand up. Yeah, some people are saying that. Sorry. Some people are saying that we could be a little bit more assertive. I can't disagree with you. I'm just regurgitating what is being said out there. And yes, our constitution must be amended. Yeah, so it all depends. And that's where it starts. They have to buy into it unless we're talking about going independent. If you can't go by what they want, when you want it, that sort of stuff. Outside that, you're talking about, hey, let's cut the navel string. Let's go on our own. Are we ready for that? I'm quite sure. Yep. Yeah. Sabrina, it's not personal. It's real. No, that is why I didn't take it personal. Trust me. Reading all of this and preparing for these show, Denver, is why I just smile at the storm and wave and what you could do. It is the rules. It is. No, I didn't take anything personal. It took me a little while to understand it because I've gone back. Okay, I'm a regular member of civil society. Why am I having to go through this? Oh, you're a PEP, Miss Sabrina. You're still a PEP. And then you educate yourself and you go into these things and then it makes sense for serving your country. That's what happens. There's a big bullseye on your back because you're exposed then for, I guess, money laundering and doing all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I am high risk and it is extended to my immediate family, my sons, my family, even my helper was impacted. as well. So yeah, it just doesn't stop at the person who run for political office. It is by extension, even my siblings, my brothers. Yeah, they were impacted by that whenever they were doing any financial transactions. They're asked, do you have anybody? This is a legit question on forms that they were filling out. Do you have anybody that's in political office or close links with the government? And of course, they had to declare their sister. And I got the calls. This is what we get because you choose to run for office. Yeah, but they got through. But yeah, so it's far reaching. But it still was a noble calling for me, and I it was an honor. And now that chapter is behind me, and here I am. But yes, so you may wonder then, if we don't vote, how in the name of God because of us being small in size, we're not silent. We don't always have voting power in big global institutions, right? As I continue on and we wrap up here, because there's less than a half hour left. But we've built strong strategic ways to make our voices heard. And the Cayman Islands has continued to set the bar in financial industry, even as a small island development state and a British overseas territory jurisdiction that does not have a seat at the table. We still have done well. And please allow me to walk you through the main ways small island development states advocate not only for themselves, but also on the world stage. No, plastic fantastic. I would never stand for office again. No, I did my turn. That's not for me. To give of service, oh yeah, but not for political office again. And I endorse that statement. Would you ever stand for office again? I love my people of Prospect. I love the people of the Cayman Islands. And trust me, they are still crying to this day. But it's not for me. And I endorse that statement. But I love them dearly. I will always have respect for them. But no, there are other ways I can give of service without being on a political stage and be very, very impactful and influential. And it doesn't have to be labeled by a vote or being a political figure. I did it. I am here. And I'm just so happy that I did it. But it has made me see life through a different lens. And I feel it is some of the downsides of being a small island development states. Now, navigating life post-politics, unless I'm around with some past peers like Mr. Roy Bodden, one would not understand when you actually say you will never do it again, where that comes from. But with all due respect, by and large, the people of Prospect who supported me, who I came to love, have a profound respect for, who lifted me up, who were always there, who continue to still be there. If I say I declare my hand tomorrow, I know there would be a motorcade in less than 48 hours. But no one has to be scared. It is not for me. I will continue to do my role here, and I will continue to do what I'm doing organically, and I'm looking forward. But regrets, I have few, and that is not one of them. But I thank you. Thank you for the question, and for all of those people in Prospect who thinks I'm like, oh my gosh, she's bitter, she's angry, we're not seeing her. I'm giving you space to accept your new leader. And I'm here. I'm still giving of service. I'm still doing whatever the universe has called me to do. Yeah, but no, you won't see this face ever on a political ballot again. No, 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 no. Denver says, Sabrina, it's bureaucracy and BS. They can continue. They can't go do it forever. Denver says, sometime I believe if 30% of us didn't vote, we would be much better off because political handouts. That's why they vote. Look, yeah, that's a whole different story. That's a whole different show. And this is why I elevate talk to telling you what about IMF. Let's continue because that Denver, you're talking about accountability unless the gatekeepers do their jobs and the voters stop selling their vote. It ain't gonna stop. Lest I digress and let's continue. We speak about CARICOM all the time. CARICOM, my friends, is one of the strongest tools small Caribbean nations have. And even though they got some little issues going on right now, I'm watching you, CARICOM. I'm watching with what's happening, and I have been reporting a lot on what's going on because I'm a little disappointed, to be honest, but whatever's going on geopolitically right now, we're only as strong as our weakest link. And if we as Caribbean jurisdictions don't stand together with what the CARICOM is made up of, even though the Cayman Islands is a partial member, we're done. So y'all better hold it together. And I'm speaking to every one of my CARICOM leaders right now. We all better hold it together. Because as one of the strongest tools small island nations have, CARICOM, that tool is made strong because coming together as a regional family, CARICOM allows us to speak with one unified voice instead of 14, 15 separate voices. And when we see CARICOM takes a position on trade, for example, climate change, financial rules, development issues, the world listens because it represents an entire region, not just one island. You saw what happened the other day when all of those warships were in our region. I've never heard the word sovereignty and independence, and we saw other Eastern Caribbean countries coming together to say how we're going to boast up on travel inter-island connectivity. Even Cayman at one point got on the Barbados train, and we had flights going directly to Barbados. Small island development state. We're a partial member of CARICOM. We're not a full member. Do you understand what that means? CARICOM, the organization, one family. There's strength in numbers. And CARICOM gives small states collective strength. And I was so happy to see the last CARICOM meeting that our premier attended. The pictures are there. That, my friends, need to continue. Even if it is not the premier, we need, whenever they're having these meetings in regions, that we, the Cayman Islands, be represented. I've heard my brothers over there in Bermuda say many times they're in meetings because they're partial member states as well. And they're looking for the Cayman representative, and there's none. So I encourage my former colleagues, make sure you have a representative at these CARICOM states, because at the end of the day, proximity matters. And in this context, where we are geographically located, we need to have good relationships with our brothers and sisters just because of where we are located. Yes. Then you got Alliance of Small Island States. This is a global coalition of small island nations from the Caribbean, the Pacific, Indian Ocean, and definitely beyond. I bet you didn't know that existed. And this group of people was created specifically to fight for the interests of vulnerable islands as well. Now, their power is powerful in climate negotiations because what they actually push is for climate financing, emissions reduction, and protection for islands facing rising seas. The acronym is AOSIS. And that organization, that group, they make sure that the world understands that climate change is not a future threat for us. We're seeing it happening right now. Yes. We also see the United Nations climate conferences. And every year, small island development states show up at these United Nations climate conferences, and it's called the COP meetings. You may have heard our leaders going to COP 23, COP 24, COP 21. That's what COP means, yeah? And these COP meetings, they show up strong. And these conferences are where global climate decisions are also made. Yes. And small islands use these platforms to pretty much demand fairness, funding, and urgent action. And what happens is that when they attend these conferences, or small island countries that are in attendance, they highlight and showcase the cost of hurricanes, the impact of sea level rise, the need for adaptation funding, and also the importance of global responsibility, not just in isolated little islands. And these conferences, right, gives our small islands a global microphone. Yes. And then you have the Commonwealth. What actually the Commonwealth brings together, this is what they do, they bring together all sizes, from the largest to the smallest. For small island development states, right, it is the value for space to build alliances with the big boys and share concerns that may be overlooked because they're so big, they're not even realizing, oh, that's what you guys are feeling down there? And it also gives the small island development states the ability to gain support from larger nations, the Commonwealth. And through the Commonwealth, small islands can push for development assistance, raise issues of vulnerability, and build diplomatic partnerships. My friends, it's another platform where size does not influence, does not limit influence. And this is where I applaud Mia Amor Motley, because the woman has she has maximized all of these things. The lady knows what she's doing. And with all due respect, she knows. You got regional blocks as well. Beyond CARICOM, small islands work together through regional blocks and partnerships. And what these blocks do is that these includes organizations that focus on disaster response, trade, security, national security, and development financing. And what this does is that by working regionally, small island development pools their resources and share expertise and strengthen their negotiation power. And we see where regional unity actually gives small islands leverage that they wouldn't have alone. I keep saying proximity matters. Having a representation is vital, because you do not understand the power of bargaining, the power of friendships, relationship building, whether or not we're a British Overseas Territory jurisdiction, until that time comes and you need to call a friend. Yes. Plastic Fantastic 5665 said, I voted because my grandparents weren't allowed. I vote for my working class ancestors, weren't given a voice. Democracy, use it or lose it. That's right. That's right. Andrew says the Cayman Islands is portrayed in some movies like The Firm, Tom Cruise, Gene Hackman, as linked with money laundering. This has since been moved to a better place in the last 35 years. Nevertheless, we still continue to maintain integrity and transparency in our financial industry. We have come a long way, and it's not an easy task, I'm telling you, because definitely all spotlights continue to be at us. We've gotten ourselves out of some financial holes, and we have strategically placed ourselves on an international stage. We have created an environment that shows we're above board. You got to work hard to keep there in the top spot. Denver says, so that's why some politicians want more allowance. Even said publicly they can't afford to take care of their constituents. They have to use their own money, making $15,000 monthly an allowance where there's money being used. Where's their money being used? You don't know what people's household expenditure is, Denver. What the heck? We can't speak for individuals. I'm going to be honest with you, Denver. As a farmer, as an entrepreneur before getting into political office, I took a huge pay cut to serve my country. And let me be very bold. My independent standard of living changed significantly, solely being dependent on my government income that was used to serve my people during elected office. I didn't keep my business. I closed my business out of integrity because of the type of business that I ran. Yes, I didn't get contracts for my business while sitting as a cabinet minister. No, I closed my business. That's a difference. But yes, in hindsight, sometimes I wish I had kept it open because it would have provided an independent subsidized income in order to what is needed to meet the needs and the expectations of what your voters expect when it comes to representing. So if you don't want to have handlers, financiers who expects a payback, then the thinking and the mindset of the voters of what they expect of their elected officials has to change. For some, they're desperate to retain their seat, and they will do anything at all costs to get elected and to stay elected. There are just certain things I would not do, Denver. So to say that $15,000 a month and allowances, where's their money being used? If an average of $3,500 a month goes out between Foster's, Cards, Water Authority, and possibly CUC vouchers, sometimes that's just in CUC vouchers because people fall in hard times. And if that is looked upon as a must that every month you do that, and it's not only your prospect people, I'm speaking from my perspective, just using this as an example, we have to educate our people that giving out gift cards and food cards and that sort of stuff does not validate the representation of an MP. We do admit that people do fall in hard times, but it shouldn't be this constant thing of every week you have to help somebody with food and light and water, that sort of stuff. And if you don't have it personally as the MP, some of those same voters will go on and they will say all kind of mean things. They would make up story, and you spend half of your time defending your integrity for a vote because you couldn't give them a gift card, because you couldn't turn on their $1,200 light bill? Ladies and gentlemen, we need to have a real conversation. Real conversation. And then you have those who want to get elected and they don't care because they got the financing, not their money. They're bought and paid for, and they're going to pump that money into wherever they're running to feed what people want. But if you can be bought, trust me, you can be sold. And a lot of people don't see that side in what running for political office have now taken on. And it is real. Yes, this is real. You will have people hijack you for sponsoring certain things. And if you say no because you just don't have it personally, they expect you to have it. And there's no excuse because you are elected, your salary is mine, and I voted for you, and now it's time for me to cash in. I've actually had somebody use that line on me. I voted for her. Now I'm cashing in. Literally. Some people are made for that and others are not. So that's the reality. And if it continues to do that, and people can get the funding, and the people who are funding them will shut their mouths and not think, but I bet you when certain things come around that table and they got to make decisions that are even against their constituency, they can't say no, but you got to take what you get. Because they are controlled by who is feeding you when you ask for this and that and that and that. Yes. That, my friends, is the unfiltered truth, and I'm still being diplomatic. There are others out there that can tell you exactly the realities are on the ground. And like I said, some people do it because it's the only income they have. And they will do it at all costs, if it even means meeting your demands. Some are not going to go there. And I chose otherwise. Denver says, the carbon footprint is the problem, not global warming and sea rise, in my humble belief. Demian says, we seriously lack bartering strength, and I think that's what you mean, bartering strength in politics. Denver says, yes, however, I trust your opinion. However, our elected politicians are not in-house to hand out money to their constituents, not saying we should not help one in need. Yeah, there's a balance. But literally, if they were to be very honest with you, sometimes that's the only how they are returned to political office, because they have pretty much a magic number that they know, once I can fund that particular amount of people every week, every month, every whatever, you get what I'm saying, then guess what? Dish or there's 1 minute to go. Good evening, caller. You're live. What's on your mind?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You don't worry about. We need a motorcade, but not for politics. Because my horn.
Oh, your cowbell.
We need a motorcade for some other thing, can't we? And then to get some stress out, because I like that. So
yeah, I know.
I'm so stressed out, and they gonna get. So we need a motorcade for some other reason, not politics.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. Cause I guess you see what went on Honduras, what a thing. I never seen nothing like that in my life.
Oh my
goodness. Got two alcaldes now, a blue and a red.
Yes, sir.
What a mess that in. Because the people spoke on the 30th of November, and now they look like only the liberals speak on the 12th of April. I don't understand that. They said, well, re-election, and neither blue went out and vote. So they say the liberals vote in, the liberal Cherie vote in, Cherie. I never seen nothing like that in my life. It's only Honduras that a corruption like that can happen. And some people can't go sit down, boy. They're hungry for power. It must be some big thing that they want on there. And then Rotan come and dig them out in, boy. I tell you, no, sir. when the hurricane, the firebomb thing hit the Ratana, I would give Banaka one slice of bread, one nail or nothing, but how they can come and get big and what you would just say, money, talking bullshit, what was big payoff.
Yep. Well, thank you for that, my sweet. But yep,
the old Bruce president there, but I tell him this Friday vote for him. Because he not doing a thing. So, you know, they got two. I don't know what happened down there, but they got two alcaldes. I still have put one upstairs and one downstairs.
Well, anyhow, I'll look more into that. But we reached the top of the hour now, my friend. Thank you so much for calling in. Yes. Oh my gosh, time flies when you're having fun, huh? And I know it was a little hard hitting, and we did cover a lot of ground, but I'm still not finished. Tomorrow, maybe I can it's not very much ground that I have to cover, to be honest with you, in regards to this topic, but I hope you were able to get the gist and you can break it down and it all makes sense. And I hope that when our leaders get up to speak, especially more from the financial sector, there are times that Monetary Authority does promotions within their organization when they're making legislative changes, and we make them hear that as we continue to evolve in this space and I continue to engage with these topics, that it'll be easier for you to understand and see exactly where we're aligned. Because I wanted to get into collective bargaining, what that means, and that kind of aligns with exactly some of the comments that we're actually saying here, which tells me you guys are following along. And when you look at Cayman versus Independent Caribbean IMF members and see how we actually still fit into the space, and what the footprint and how that environment aligns as well. So maybe I'll do just a couple of minutes on that tomorrow to wrap this up. And we'll go into another topic, but I'll leave you because I'm doing some more investigation on a press release that I read as a breaking news the other day. But I'm waiting to get some more information. And if we get that information overnight or tomorrow, pay close attention to my advertisement for tomorrow, because we're going to dig a little bit further into a press release that I read to see what's not being said and definitely what's said. It has been my pleasure bringing you another episode of Sabrina Speaks here this evening, this Hump Day Wednesday. Yep. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for participating as well. And keep safe to all of my uniform and frontline service workers. Thank you for your service. And God bless. Be safe on the roads. Love you lots as usual. Take care. Good night. See you all tomorrow.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.